Hi, good afternoon, everybody. It is just 2 o'clock, and we'll get started here in just a second. Before we get started, just some housekeeping, some tips and tricks of the trade when you're getting these good webinars. On that right panel there, you do have questions, and you do have the chat. So if you come across something that you have a question about or you want to see more of, please feel free to go ahead and enter your questions or in the chat on that window there. I also have Bob Dickerson with me, who is our SharePoint practice manager, also being able to answer questions for us as I'm doing the demonstration. This webinar will be recorded and posted, so if you have colleagues or friends that could not make this, we will be posting this out on the internet here shortly after this webinar concludes. All right, so let's get started. So today we're talking about contracts management and how you can improve your contract management lifecycle, the insights into it, and your efficiencies. Today I'm Jason Dawsey. I'm the Director of Professional Services at DataPoint Solutions. And really what my job is to really drive the innovational solutions through SharePoint and our third-party offerings. And you'll learn a little more about myself throughout this presentation as well. If you do have any questions, as I said, I'll have the contact number and phone number at the end of this slide deck to make sure that you have everything you need. I'm not a very big slide person, and I'm a very much interactive person. So being on a webinar and everybody being muted is not usually my typical way to go. But please feel free to reach out for any questions or chats. All right. So who we are? DataPoint Solutions is a dedicated SharePoint consulting division of DataBank. We achieved Microsoft Gold partnership and collaboration content. And we also achieved business critical SharePoint. And essentially what that is, the partnership with Microsoft for lines of business expertise. So think of lines of business as Oracle, Yardi, Lawson, those other lines of business applications. And obviously we specialize in the discovery and all things that are SharePoint that can be related to either business automation, document management, enterprise information management, and the things that are incorporated within. But really what we pride ourselves on are the innovational solutions and service we provide to our clients. And that's really where the contracts management kind of spawned from as we were deploying and noticed that this was a real problem in the industry, and being that we had the skill set to provide these solutions for you. This is one of the biggest reasons why we move forward with this. We're also a third-party product integration experts, and we'll get to that slide in just a second to talk about the products that we use that we usually incorporate inside our solutions to increase your return on investment, also to relieve some of those headaches that you get from upgrades and managed code and other things. And you'll see that throughout here. The demonstrations say that how we use it and why we use it. So essentially, we look at it much like Microsoft looks at it, where SharePoint is a platform that does many things, and essentially we are the same in that manner. So we look at different things from migrations from maybe on-prem solutions to in the cloud solutions, capturing, really making your compliance and governance in check, and really driving that business process automation through workflows and automation that SharePoint provides natively. Now, what SharePoint doesn't provide natively, we look at our third-party ecosystem. So we are partnered with the best-in-breed software out there, and you can see on the right-hand menu the partners that we partner with very closely, and a lot of these solutions are actually integrated into our solution. So why contract lifecycle management? So the 5 reasons that we came up with was, to avoid litigation, to save money, to deliver that greater value, reduce costs, and prevent, your contracts management acting as contract administrators. And when we started looking at this, and we started looking at the 80-20 rule, when you start looking at contracts management systems, it's actually pretty one-sided, where the 20% are the features that most people boast about, and the other 80% are the functionality that people are missing, like visibility, reporting, and essentially making sure that your contracts are efficient throughout your whole process. So just to kind of cover what we're going to be looking at today, we're going to be looking at our system in a slightly different manner than you're used to. So we're going to actually look at a day in the life of specific individuals that may be in your organization or people like them in your organization, and at different roles as well. So we'll go through them, and I'll call them out as we're going through them. But just to get you an idea of what a typical person would be in the system, usually when you see these demos or these these presentations, you have somebody with all the rights in the world, and you see everything, and it's not real world case scenarios. And today I want to bring that real world to you. So even today I'll be playing a lady, so that's going to be fun. All right, so the first person we're going to actually look at is Jane. Now Jane is a purchasing entity that has very basic rights within systems. She enters in, maybe identifies maybe some suppliers and some specific things that she wants to enter into, but ultimately she goes in there to ingest data and to get her processes moving. So we'll go through her basically looking at and easily managing her data, but also streamlining her process to make sure that it is efficient as possible. And today we're going to be concentrating on the purchasing side rather than the sales or employment or investor contract. We'll be mostly fully concentrating on the purchasing contracts. But the system is flexible, and as you'll see in just a second, can be related to those other processes as well as those different contracts that you manage in your business. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and jump out of my PowerPoint, as I'm not a big PowerPoint person. So, all right, so I'm going to jump right into the contracts management system. Now, this is built within SharePoint 2013, and I kept it very basic in terms of what the branding will look like, because I wanted to make sure that I can tell you that through this whole solution I've used zero code. And what that means for you is there's no big code deployments or developers that you have to have on staff just to manage this. Everything is done through the interfaces and third-party products that we're using. And that's very important. That's why I didn't do branding. Now, can you have branding? Sure, you can make this look like a normal website. But I wanted to make sure that you guys can see the functionality and not take away from the functionality just because it looks different than SharePoint. Now, this isn't SharePoint 2013. This is the brand new version, as well as what's being deployed in Office 365 in the cloud. This can be done within SharePoint 2010 as well, just to make sure you guys know. So, as you can see here, I'm actually logged in as Jane, which is our purchasing entity. And essentially, she's introduced to the screen much different than every person I'll log in. So it's basically a customized view into her business and into her personal account. And I'm also logged in, as you can see, within Microsoft Chrome. And I also want to point this out because the platform is agnostic in this case. So you can access this from Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox, Safari, or mobile. The mobile, I have a screenshot of it, will look very much like what you see on your desktop, just mobilized. I'm using my Android device, but you can also use your Apple devices as well, so your iPads, your iPhones, so on and so forth. All right, so Jane comes into the system, and she does very basic things. She may want to identify a new supplier that may offer your company or organization specialized offerings, or maybe a better deal than your other people may be doing, or making requests for purchasing. So if Jane needed brochures or services rendered, she can come in here and quickly enter this in, and I'll show you the processes to go through for these multiple things. But as I said, we're going to be concentrating on the purchasing contracts. Now, sales, employment, investor, supply chain, so on and so forth. There's configurations to do for that, but the purchasing is what we'll be concentrating on today. So the first thing that I put out front, and it's because it's a big deal, especially within contracts management, is the social aspect. So right on the front page, you'll see a news feed leveraging what SharePoint 2013 offers. Basically, conversations between the different people in the organization, maybe collaborating on a specific document. As you can see, Jane, earlier, Jane said, she wants to improve this document. As you can see, I can actually link over this, and this is actually a link to the actual document itself. So that way it's a big collaborative process there. And really what that does is, especially if you're dispersed an organization where you have multiple people in different geographical areas and your talent is spread. So using systems like this to make sure that you can collaborate in real time on a system that's not silo-based like email is to really expand that knowledge, but also streamline those processes. So, where Jane may be limited in terms of knowledge of maybe products or specific services, being in a collaborative environment, she can quickly interact with people to get her answers or to get her process moving. So let's say Jane got an email and she, a new vendor wants to basically be a preferred vendor or an approved vendor for our company. So DataPoint Solutions requires specific things to be approved from a supplier standpoint. And to be a preferred supplier, you need to have maybe a master service agreement set in place or a BPA set in place, and how to manage those contracts. So being that Jane just is coming in just being a purchasing entity, she can request the fact that the vendor is entered into the system to be chosen at one point or another. But at the end of the day, she's not the one actually approving it. So it does go through different steps of processes. So depending on who you log in to, you have your essential links here that will change based on your login. So if you're an admin or if you're an executive or somebody that has a little bit more rights, you'll be able to come in here and have a very fluid experience being set by SharePoint. So, coming in here, I can say, hey, I want to register a new supplier. I have a button right here to just quickly get into it, and especially within systems, streamlining your processes, the less clicks you have to get to the place you want to go as fast as possible is the way that you want to go. And that's really what we wanted to do when we streamlined a lot of these processes. So I'm going to go ahead and register a new supplier for our system here. So we're automatically thrown into our new supplier form. Now, this form, there's some fields that can't be filled out that will automatically be filled out by the system, as well as some lookups in some other places coming from different systems as well. Now, this can be we can pull information from multiple different systems, be it SQL Server, Oracle Server, SAP Server, so on and so forth. If you have a database, we can pull that information into these systems. So let's go ahead and enter a new supplier. So the new supplier is offering a product to us that we may not currently have. So I'm going to go ahead and put in Jason's Jelly, and I just started my business this year. You can put you can also have this look up from different systems as well. I'm going to go ahead and manually enter these information in here. Last year was a slow year, so I only made $10. I am an independent contractor, so as you can see here, my legal structure is set up. Now, these legal structures and these things, as you'll see here in a little bit when we get into the administration, the administrator can really update these very easily without much effort. I am a company of one. I'm going to go ahead and put my address in here. So as I'm filling this out, as you can see here, it's a very fluid experience, and at any time as your eyes are probably going up here, I can also print this page and print out this form directly from here, so I don't have to necessarily, go back in and have to worry about printing this out later. And also autofills as well. So as you see there, I just typed in my zip code and autofilled the rest of my information in. Once again, this is just little things that make your time easier. And as you'll see, as we're going through here, the system has really been streamlined to make sure that the process is streamlined as possible, as well as data entry. Diversity information. Now, for those that are in the government as well, we also have places where we can enter in specific contracts you may want to be looking at. So if you're looking at a GSA contract, a SUB contract, a DIR contract, we can also add those into different offerings and different credentials as well. Now, so as I said before, the reason why I'm doing the supplier may be because no one offers it before. So, for example, textile, I can say, okay, I want to do some textile category, and I can say parcel delivery. I can get some notes. And then at the bottom or the top of the screen, you can go ahead and submit this form. Now, what happens when you submit this form, you'll get a submission thank you, which is great. And usually, once again, we took a lot of time into watching user behavior and looking at the UX out of the world. And usually, if you don't have feedback under control, most people will just keep hitting the button until it does something. So we want to make sure that there's constant feedback between you, the user, as well as emails. So actually, when I submitted this, an email goes out to the next person we're going to be for approval. Now, if I ever want to go back in and check this out, like say if I want to see where my vendor sits at, I have these links on the side as well as the top that basically are, if you can work a website, you can work our contracts management system. So if I look under supplier management, I can see my suppliers link here. And when I go into my suppliers, I can see all the approved vendors that I have as well as preferred vendors, and then the ones that are pending. So here's the one that I just entered, so Jason's Jelly. Now Jason's Jelly may be something that we don't necessarily need that can actually be rejected from being a preferred vendor list or just approved. Usually a preferred vendor that we have in here is usually combined with an MSA that we have linked to it. So when you have an MSA, you have these preferred vendors. So if I go back into look at this vendor, so I want to check out SharePoint Solutions, I can come in here, see the status, the priority, the company number, as well as if I scroll down, you can see any kind of notes that they may have, the approval statuses, and any other information that may be prevalent to this form. Once again, I can print it out and use this otherwise. Now this becomes very important because this vendor list is the way that drives this whole process. This will drive us sending RFPs, RFQs, RFIs out, as well as being able to be registered and buying from master service agreements. Now, as you see, now these are two are pending, and in typical processes, John, the person that's going to be approving these, can approve them right away. But in this case, since I'm John as well, I can't approve it because I'm still a Jane. But I can look at where the process is at. I can see that John's waiting for this approval. It hasn't been started yet. I can also look deeper into the actual process itself. So if I ever needed to come back in here and say, if I'm really trying to get this going, I can always go into the menus here, and you can see I can send a link to somebody. I can see who it's shared with. I can go in here and I can actually look at the workflow or the process that's being done. And it shows me in a graphical representation of it, of what's actually happening. So it's sitting at the approval process and it's waiting for John. Now, this is great because instead of having to learn code, as I said before, no code being used, a normal knowledge worker can come in here and quickly see that, hey, green means go, yellow means stop, and red means something broke. So I can see that it's waiting for John's approval. And I can also go back and actually look at the statistics of how long John takes to normally approve these things. So I can see John's been there. He's pretty quick because he's been doing these pretty fast. So that way I can get a general consensus to communicate with our vendors to say, hey, it's waiting for John's approval. He usually takes about 5 minutes to approve these things. To just get a little bit more insight to better service your vendors as well as your clients. Now, as entering supplier, I'm on a waiting period until I become John and approve that supplier. So while I'm in here, I also need to do something else, which I need some services done in my organization. So my division necessarily might not be doing the work directly, but if I need maybe some servicing done to my SharePoint environment or need brochures printed for my division, for example, I need to make a request to do a demand. So if I hit enter request demand, essentially it will pop me into basically a requisition request for a specific commodity. Now, as you can see here, it's already pre-filled my data out, so my name, my phone number, where I'm from, who the approvers may be, where I'm located at, and this is all being pulled from different databases throughout the organization. I can pick a funding source if it's a solicited or unsolicited proposal, as well as I can pick the purchasing organization, as well as if there's a purchasing group involved. Depending on what market you're in, you may have different purchasing groups that you might leverage, and these can be updated very, very easily and making sure that they comply with all your standards and all your compliance areas. But let's say I need to go ahead and pick some services. So essentially what I have are these product categories, and this is looking up from a database as well. This is actually a SharePoint database, so this is actually a list, which is easily updated. And I can actually pick what category I want to do, which automatically filters down what I have the ability to see. So as I said, I can want to pick professional services, SharePoint services, and tech services. So if I pick professional services and I hit select, it will automatically fill out the commodity that I want. I can give a rough quantity that I need. So let's say if I need 150 hours. In the description, I need help setting something up. Not a special request, and you know what, it is kind of a high priority, so I'm going to go ahead and put a high priority in there. And the justification is I can't do it myself. Once again, now, if I didn't want to submit this, I can actually save it or delete it or cancel it. And when you do these different things, it will do something. Each process is a little different. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this, and this will once again go to John for submission. The next person I'm going to jump into. So once again, I'll get the thank you for submission email or message that's out there. So now I have a supplier request out there, and then I also have a request for some services. So as Jane, you might be done doing what you're doing for that day. But while you're here, you may want to also check out your workflow inbox. Your workflow inbox right now is pretty empty because, once again, you're not going to be a big approver. Now, John's might be a little different. He might have some additional ones in there, but I can't tell because I can only see what I have access to. Everything within the system is security trimmed to the document level, meaning you can actually have access to maybe a folder or what we call document libraries, but you might not have access to one single document. That's very important to note. Some contracts that might be outside of their knowledge area or outside the organization, you might not necessarily want them to be interacting with each other or seeing what other purchasing groups are doing. Also, let's check out the community while we're here. So the community, once again, the whole collaboration aspect of contract management and SharePoint 2013 is a huge benefit to your organization. So as you can see here, I'm checking out the discussions. I can see I asked a question, and oh, I actually got a response from John. I can go in here. I'm just wondering how to close, close this deal. John says maybe if I should approach it differently. Well, that doesn't help very often. Reply to him, and this is all real time, so he'll get notified that I responded to him. I can also like his comments. Once again, this is a total, every time something's being done in the system, you'll be notified as long as you want to be notified. Now, as Jane has basically completed what she needs to do for her day, she might check in her documents that she wants to follow up on. Now, this is, once again, tailor-fit to exactly what she wants to do. So as I said, I put this vendor list in here, and I also put this request in for requisition. So as you can see, I can quickly check whenever I want to come back and see where my documents may be sitting at, or where they're ultimately sitting in terms of an approval. So once again, quickly just getting your things that you need done, and continue on with the process. Once again, flexibility, but also speed is the key there. Precision is a great thing. Now, in the case that I don't necessarily want to look at my documents this way, I have a whole lot of searching options in SharePoint 2013 as well. So being a knowledge worker, you might not know everything. You might not know where every button is. But, for example, you might know that you have a request sitting out for maybe a requisition, and you want to check it out. So, for example, I want to check out this requisition and maybe any information that's related to it. So I can actually just go up here, type in the rec number, enter. It's all right. And quickly find out all the documents that are related to that maybe rec number, which this rec number is the number that the system automatically gives to each different thing. So as you see, I have the rec number 9 out there for an RFI. I can see it's being shared with John. It was modified yesterday at 8:30. I can see some information there. I can also see some other information maybe related to it. So I can see the place where it's being stored at. I can see any conversations that we had on it. I can actually look right here, and I can see that that same thing that on my front page here, and I can actually look at the conversation. So really quick, visible places that you can quickly get to. Now, maybe I know, you know what, it was a Word doc. I can quickly filter down my options and just look at it this way. I can also look at different languages as well. So SharePoint offers a whole lot of different languages that you can also add in there as well if you're a multinational company as well. Now, if that search just doesn't fit the bill and you're more of a metadata or what we call index values, we also have an advanced search that we've added in there as well. So I can actually look to the different places that I may be looking for something. And let's say, maybe I just want to see what contracts have been awarded to data point. So I can just type in data point, or actually not even data point, search it. I can see that the rec number 8 was awarded the data point for that amount. It was an RFI at first. I can go into the document and see all the documents that are related to it. I can save this search. So if Jane finds herself coming in here and doing the search every day, she can save her search to make sure that she comes back in here and basically doesn't have to redo work. Once again, speed is the key, but also accuracy. Also, if maybe this information is prevalent outside of SharePoint, you can actually export this to Excel and take it with you as you need. Now, as searching goes and metadata search, that is essentially some of the 95 different ways you can do it. But for example, this purchasing number 8, I can go into this purchasing number 8, and what's in here is actually a folder on steroids. So these are called document sets that we leverage quite often, which has metadata to them that actually also rolls down to the rest of the metadata. Now this one has already been approved for $10,000, and you can also see that there are RFIs in here, the response, as well as a picture that I uploaded as well. Now, as you can see, there's a little lock by this. So from a compliance area, if I wanted to try to delete this document, I can't. So essentially, this is locked for editing, it's locked for deletion. And really what this does is it increases that compliance area. So when the executives come in or your administration comes in, they can quickly find the documents that are maybe on a litigation hold or contracting binding, for example, this RFI response. Now, let's say if I needed to collaborate on a document. So if I go into my working contracts, which is what we call a library, and I can see that there's a purchasing number 9 here, the one that I've been waiting for. So I'm still waiting for this to be approved. I can quickly come and see what conversations are being had about that RFI or that contract, as well as the RFI document, the response that we first initially put in, and a template or a PowerPoint template that we've been using. So I can quickly say, okay, well, maybe they're not doing any work on it. I can either open this document up right into PowerPoint and take a look at it, or we can open up this viewer, which is basically not, it's totally agnostic to your system. You don't have to have anything installed in your system. And I can quickly see that, hey, this is the same PowerPoint that I'm using, so it's great they're using some compliance areas. I maybe want to search out something specific within that document. So if I type in contracts here, does a little search, I can quickly highlight and find out where the documents are sitting at or the words are sitting at. I can see conversations going on within this document. So I can see Jason loves what that is, and John says, hey, that's a great idea. As well as I can attach documents to this, and once again, continuing that collaboration around documents. Now, if you don't like interacting with the GUI or the graphics interface of what we have here, we can also do this OneDrive situation. Now, the OneDrive, what we can do here is put a folder on your desktop. So I have this SkyDrive folder here. And I can open this guy up, and I can actually look at my SharePoint. And I can have these folders, which are mapped to SharePoint drives. So I can go to my contracts management. I can see that there's my contracts number 9. Open that guy up. I can take a look at these documents, edit them, do what I need to do with them. Or if I want to upload a document, all I have to do is drag and drop it. And what it'll do is it'll actually upload this document automatically from this folder. So that way I don't have to actually go into SharePoint and hit the upload button like you normally would too. Normally people might see or think. So as that's uploading, I'm going to go back into the portal here. Give it a little refresh. And there's my doc. Now the benefit that we have here using these document sets, there's no indexing needed. So the days that you entered endless metadata or index values to your documents to make them relevant in terms of search or findability, now these automatic filters or these automatic values will filter down to this document as well. So we already have that basically set up. Now you have all the great features of the systems that you normally would have. So yeah, so I've been check in, check out, the workflows, downloading, compliance. So I can put this on litigation hold or make it a record. All those features still hold the same that you normally would have. So the authoring, you can do co-authoring. So if I open this document up and start working on it, and John needs to work on it as well, if I don't check it out, he can work on it at the same time as I do, and I can just see him editing the things that I need. So I entered my document that I needed to. I'm going to go ahead and put in there. Post that I added that document now. It'll be there. I can also go back and see the whole conversation history if needed. So now, being done with what I need to do as Jane, I'm going to actually jump in as the approver now. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of Jane's screen here and jump into John. So what John does is essentially he basically approves contracts and materials, and he wants to do it quickly and effectively because typically if you have, maybe if you're in approval, you have different jobs, you have other things that you can't be sitting there wasting a whole lot of time going through very complex systems to approve or deny or find something. So we're going to go into John and show you the different things that John can do as fast as quick as possible and accurate as well. So going into the system as John, as you can see now I'm in John. Now my screen's a little different. I can start to see some things that Jane didn't have access to, as I can see that I have an effective date for a master service agreement here. My documents have changed. My inbox has a couple different things. So there's that RFI that's waiting out there. A couple other. If I give my screen a little refresh here, I can see that the new thing that we just put in there is in there. Jason Shelley, which is the approver for Jane, and some other necessary functions that are there. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and actually approve Jason Shelley. So essentially, to approve it, I just hit the button. It comes up here and says, preferred vendor has to have these credentials. I can pick what vendor, which kind of vendor that I want to put in. I have comments I can put in there. If I want to see what the document looks like, I can actually open it up right away to see the information that might be prevalent to me making a decision. I can see who uploaded it, how long they uploaded it, and everything else here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and approve this vendor for Jane. And just say we need a textile vendor. And approve it. Now what this will do is the actual workflow will go through and do everything else for me. As a John, that's all I need to do to approve a supplier. So now if I go back in and look at my suppliers, I can quickly see that Jason Shelley is now an approved vendor and now can be purchased from. So I can actually put bids up to him, either be it a solicited or be a direct contract for these guys, and basically be able to email them back and forth and collaborate and negotiate those terms and conditions and contracts with them. Now also, in the same respect, I know that I know Jane, I got an email saying that there's been a new requisition form put in. So I can go into the requisitions, see the requests. I can see Jane just put one in 12 minutes ago. And I can actually look at the information. I can open this up, take a look at it. Now, if I already know what I want to do, so for example, if I wanted to go ahead and just do an RFX on this or purchase directly from a contractor, all you do is hit the button. So I'm going to go ahead and do an RFI on this guy. So I go into the requisition response, and I can see the information is already filled out for me, which is great. It's a great portion that I don't have to re-enter all this data in every time I want to do something, and I can also quickly just find out what's going on. So I can pick what I want to do. This is an RFX process. You can have additional RFXs if you want to do requests for negotiations or other processes very easily. Now, depending on which way you choose on these different choices, the system will do different things for you. So Jane put the request in. She's looking for professional services at 150 quantity. It's looking pretty high priority. And I can look at the vendors that offer that. So these are the 4 vendors within my vendors list that offer those services to us. And I can see that there's 2 preferred vendors and 2 approved vendors. Now, you might have compliance areas that you need to use preferred vendors or purchase off of a specific MSA. So I'm going to go ahead and select these 2 vendors. Now, being that this is RFI, I can actually send this out to multiple people. And I don't have to sole source it or do a sole contract for those guys. So I'm actually going to pick these 2 and submit this response. Once again, get the little submission portion there. Now, what will happen in this as well is now that I've actually responded to the request, Jane gets an email saying, hey, it's been moved to contracts. But if I go into the contracts, you'll actually see that there's a new purchase requirement right here. It's in process. purchase quantity at 150 hours. And I can go into the document, and I can automatically see something that's going to be really special. First thing is this was just created. All I did was hit submit and choose a vendor. I can see that the RFI has already been basically pre-populated for me. The response that I did is already in here. So when you're going back to look at tracking it and looking at essentially what happened, when it happened, why it happened, you can track it back from the inception to completion. So from the point that it becomes an idea that you need to purchase something to the time that you sign the contract and invoice, it's all there, ready and willing to go. Now, if I go into my RFI, this is from a compliance area. This is very special. Everything that I do is pulled from a contracts template, meaning that it's used. Everything that is made here is automatically put in there for me. So that way, if maybe T's and C's change or terms, conditions, or maybe your SOPs have changed a little bit, this will automatically reflect that. And that's going to be extremely important for compliance. So if for example, your terms and conditions change, essentially you change it in one place, and every new contract that's being created within the system will automatically get those new features. Now, this might go out for collaboration for a little bit. However, I think if I don't answer Jane, she may imaginarily come over and shut my computer off, and that's not a good thing when you're an approver. So I'm actually going to go back into my my working contracts here and do something about her RFI that's been waiting out there. So this is the one she's waiting on. So for example, now I know that there's some information in there. I know that the RFI has been sent out, hasn't been sent out yet. There's some other information that's been put in there. Let's say now, we got to a good point. The RFI is in a good shape that we can send it out to our vendors. All I have to do is basically right-click the button and say send contract to vendors. Now what this will do is will automatically send it to the vendors that I chose. So if I hit send to vendors, it'll show me what it's going to do. I start it. Now what this will do is it will look up from that vendor list, the supplier list, and basically give me all the information that it needs to basically send me the information that I need. So I'm going to wait for that email to come through. It takes a second or so. So as you can see here that I actually got the email and says, hey, good day, Data Point would like to invite you to the RFI. And basically I can respond to this RFI by navigating to this link. Now typically you could hide this link a little bit and make it look like, click here. But this is important. I wanted to show you this because when you're participating with vendors and you might have an intranet that's locked down to the point where you don't want to necessarily let your vendors into your suppliers into your intranet. Basically, you can take this link and open it up into a web browser, and this can be anywhere in the world, and basically enter your RFI information here. Now, the reason why I wanted to show you this is just so that you guys don't know there's no smoke and mirrors. I want to put this up here. One of our vendors did this the other day, and I thought it was pretty cool, so I'm going to do it again. Anybody that's willing to do this on a webinar, you can feel free to go to this link right here and fill this out, fill this little form out. So once again, go to this link, fill this form out, and I'll show you what happens. It's pretty special, and I think it's adds a lot of value to your contract systems. As it's definitely going to be very beneficial for the negotiation stages. Now this is just a response, but if you go into negotiations, you can do the same negotiations through there as well. And give everybody just a few seconds to go ahead and enter this. Anybody that does it gets a gold star for the day. So make sure you go ahead and put that requisition number in the contract. And this is really what drives where this document goes. If you put some nonsense in there, it's not going to go anywhere. However, we do have some things that are set up that can help you out there as well. All right. I'm hoping everybody got that. I'm going to go ahead and enter my form here. going to go ahead and attach my purchase agreement that I have on my desktop as well. Good, find on my desktop. I have a very, very messy desktop, unfortunately. This also gives everybody time to quickly go in and do this themselves. Go ahead and put my purchase agreement on there, save, and then basically it's submitted. Now, I don't have to have access to my internal environment for this. It'll automatically do it. So when I go back into my portal here, I actually have a contract responses situation here. That takes a few seconds to come through, so I'll give it a second or so. But essentially now what this will do is we'll automatically put in the request here and attach the document to it, and then attach the document to my RFI. It takes for a few seconds to come through. As this is happening, I'm going to go ahead and show you something as we wait. So now I have an RFI that's being responded to. Let's say one of our vendors wants to sign up for an MSA from us. MSAs will, master service agreements that we have could be varied. And so I have a few that are already out here that really show some savings. So if I wanted to maybe register a new master service agreement for one of our vendors, I can quickly come in here, add in the agreement name, maybe like a BPA or something along those lines, give it an effective date, give it an expiration date, add the categories. Maybe, for example, if I want to see everybody that offers IT hardware, we offers IT professional services, and data point, I can see everything they offer. I can choose the things that they offer, so I can say they're offering Nintex Workflow, 2013, 2010, maybe some professional services, what costs they're maybe doing it at, so what discount they're going to give us for doing this, and the expected quantity that you have. And this will automatically total up and total your total savings as well. So this will also be a purchasing vehicle that you can definitely use throughout the contract management system as well. As the MSAs are going through, you have a very similar situation there where you have this contract sets that we look at. So you see that there's MSA out for data point, and it's you can track the expiration, you can track the kickoff, and essentially these are all tracked and we'll roll up to that calendar that's on the front page as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at see who all responded here. Somebody said it looks good. Thank you. I'm going to let these keep coming in because mine still hasn't came in yet. Now what will happen though, any attachment that you put on there, so that RFI response will automatically go into my folder that's already there, so that way I can get up-to-date information on what's going on. Give this a few more minutes for that to go through here. So now, as John, you can also go into your workflow inbox, and you can also see everything that you've done from a queue standpoint. So the different queues that you have will be really dependent. So as I said, I have that vendor approval that's out there. I have an MSA request going. I have a signature, an award signature to do. So I have different tasks that are going in here. Now they can be quickly approved. So if I go in here and just click vendor approval, I can see that this is for Oscorp. I can go ahead and give it a rejected or approved, once again, just like that. But once again, it doesn't necessarily have to be done through here as well. So this is a very traditional approach by going and click a button and hitting OK. You can also respond to the emails that you get. So each time that you do something within these tasks, you get an email saying, hey, there's something you need to do, and you'll see in just a second. You can actually respond to those emails without actually going into SharePoint at all to do your approval as well. All right. So let's say we got the RFIs in and we want to continue on down the line with maybe awarding this. So this number 9 here, let's say I want to award it. So I'm going to go ahead and click Award Contract. Show me what I'm going to do. Click OK. Now what will happen is I'll get tasked to say who I want to award it to. So then I can go into my workflow and I can see that I have an award. Should I give it to Data Point Solutions? And basically it'll cycle through each person there. I'm just going to award to Data Point. Now what this will do is it'll automatically send the person from DataPoint the notice of intent, and then I'll get the award value. So I can say how much the award is going to be. So $1,500. And essentially that'll move that working contract to almost a completion stage, as you can see here. The only thing that's missing is signing the document and sending it back to the vendor. So now, typically, most processes you may have to print it out, sign it, scan it back in, and do that work. The way that we integrated our system is basically you have a queue and you have a new signature here. So essentially, I can go in here, click the link, give it a reason, put the person that you need to approve it in, signature-wise. I'm going to use Bob's credentials. If I can type quickly today. Sign it. Now this will automatically sign the document and send it to our vendor that we chose. So once again, now the big benefit here is, so your typical process, you may be running out, emailing it out, maybe in somebody's email, maybe somebody else's email, but you don't know ever who, and it's hard to track. Now if I go in and look at our system here, I can track exactly what it did. So I can go into the requisition, I can open up the requisition form that I was looking at, open it up in our viewer, go down to the signature part of the document, and see that Bob's signature is there. And I can also see when it's been sent to the vendor. I can see exactly who it was sent to, and that way that compliance area is all congruent. So there's no bleed over, there's no missing portions, pieces, or aspects that you have to worry about. Great. Well, I took you through approving an RFI, and then going back into the working contracts, you can always look at the awarded status, who it was awarded to, plus the awarded amount. Now, if you're an executive, though, going through these lists and looking at these documents, that may be more than you want to do in a daily basis. So what I've done is actually the next person I'm going to show you is actually an executive. So essentially, she wants to gain insight into her contracts, but also maintain her directives and compliance throughout her organization. Most systems will have very little reporting, and the reporting they do have is very, very difficult to administer, and it's very difficult for a user that's not very technically sound to configure. So what we did here, I'll go ahead and exit out of John, and then go into my executive. Now, as you can see automatically, I have new reports. I have a lot more documents I have access to. I have compliance areas that I normally didn't have access to. So a whole lot of extra stuff that, once again, security trimmed down, as well as a whole lot of resource management. So it gives me those options that necessarily I don't have access to. So if I go into my reports here, and I want to see the executive dashboard, I can quickly come into my executive dashboard and get an overview of what contracts have been placed, maybe sales, purchasing, so on and so forth, at a holistic view, so I can see the whole company, as well as what they're purchasing, what's been in and out of compliance areas. So, and these are interactive things. So if I want to see different professional services, I can see how much money we spent on professional services. I can see what we sold compared to what we purchased, as well as maybe, for example, if you want to see out of compliance areas. So I can see that I've actually had $60 million of purchasing outside of compliance. And actually, I can actually drill down into this a little bit more to find out exactly what portion of that out of the whole amount was that. Now, in some cases, this may be very hard to do for some systems. The nice thing about our system is you can do this very easily. I'm going to show you how to do it while I'm on the phone with you to show you how easy it is. So if I go into my report gallery, and I say I want to create a new graph, let's call this products. Essentially, now I have a drag and drop interface that I can do reporting. Now, as somebody that might not be necessarily real comfortable with technology, you can quickly come in here and quickly learn this. I can say contract amount, contract date, product, almost like a WYSIWYG type editor. And basically now I have my X, Y values that I can actually go ahead and actually build this graph out even more. You can also do timelines. That way it actually shows you the different timelines of when the purchases have been made, when they were gone, how many there were. And this is all interactive. Now this can be published very easily. You can do this by different tables. So I have my master contract list as well as supporting countries that I might be selling to or purchasing from. Once again, very easy to make sure that your reporting is there and ready to go for you. I'm not going to save that report. I can also go back into my compliance areas. So if I want to see what people are using, I can see that there's a master service agreement plus that RFI template that I have there, as well as all the other templates you want to put into the system you have here. You can see the different versions that were had. So for example, as an executive or compliance officer, I can come in here and quickly see what template was used, if it's exempt, if it's on hold. I can generate an audit log, see where it's being used at, who looked at it, who edited it, basically the whole 9 yards in terms of making sure that you have the full insight of what's going on. So as I can see every version piece there, I can see the approval statuses that were happening. And also the nice part about this is I can always revert to different versions. Now this doesn't delete the current versions you have, it just replaces it with a new version. This gives you a whole lot of capabilities from management of your contracts and management of your templates that you want to make sure that they're up to date and ready to go for your people as well. And last but not least, I'm going to give you insight into the administrator. So the administrator has stress-free administration. Being the way that the system is designed, it's made so you don't have to worry about it. You know, depending on if you're doing 500 contracts a year, if you're doing 10 million contracts a year, the way the system was made was to make sure that your area is going to be seamlessly made. So essentially everything that you've seen here today was done basically through lists and libraries and different data connections outside. So for example, my products that I offer, say if we had a new product, I have the product IDs, the product names, the lookups, all done within here. So to add, let's say if you want to add maybe, I don't know, a new, let's go ahead and add a new product. If I go in here and say, let's call this 1, because I just made my company before. So it's textiles that he's offering for me. Cool, right? Now the benefit that we have here now is everything that we looked at today is automatically updated. So if I go into any of my forms that we were looking at earlier, I can quickly see that everything's been updated there. So if I go into my suppliers, my supplier form there to see the product over there, you'll have that link there as well. So if I go into the supplier, you can see my things already been updated. Now all of the different things that you see here in terms of states, countries, structures, any lookups, any values that you have can be easily updated in the same manner that I just updated that. Once again, that provides the oversight, the overability to make sure that your administrators aren't bogged down and they can basically continue on with their work, but also make sure that this system is fast and accessible to you as possible. Now we are just about 5 minutes to the end of our webinar, and I want to keep it open for our questioning. So please feel free on the chat window or the question window. Feel free to go ahead and ask questions. Anything you might want to see, anything I kind of breeze through that you want to see more of, go ahead and feel free to ask those questions now. I'm going to leave this open for the next remaining 5 minutes to make sure that they're every question that is answered I can answer for you, as well as if there's questions that you think of after the fact, say after the webinar is completed and you have something you need, feel free to contact us at contact@datapointconsulting.com or dialing us at 855-866-4039 or visiting us on our website. And if you guys don't have any questions, thank you for attending our webinar today. We appreciate your time, and attention as we were going through our contracts management system and how these systems can really streamline your processes to make your contracts management lifecycle a lot easier. But I'll leave the questions open now as well. So the renewal, there was a question, how does the renewal administration process work? So essentially at the end of the, basically every time there's something that has an effective date and a removal date, there's two things you can do. One is looking at the calendar, which will automatically update you from, and also send it to the vendors if they're up for renewal. So if you're doing invoicing or exvoicing, or you also have project tracking. So for example, if I look at my project tracker here, this will show me exactly the project plans that I'm actually giving everything to, which also shows me the upcoming tasks, which includes the renewal and administration process. And then depending on how your renewal works, if it's more paper-based rather than anything else, we can do it that way. If you want to have it more automatic, we can do it that way. The system is very flexible, and it doesn't have a lot of overhead to do those extra things. That's the beauty of everything that we're really doing here. Amendments in the same manner. So I don't know if you've seen the process or the external access to it. So if we would need to make an amendment to the contract, we would put one of those links out to the vendor to either upload them to that site and make sure that the amendments are in there. And basically what you do is you knock it back from being awarded to an amendment, which begins the contract process again as well. So that way it doesn't go through the full contract process, maybe a subset of it, but the amendments are added and included into that document or that contract set, which once again travels along with the whole contract lifecycle. Of course. Once again, guys, I thank you so much for attending, and I hope that you got a lot of information that you would hope to see out of a contract management system and SharePoint, and both kind of combined together. And you can see the value that this can definitely add to your organization as well as other organizations that are out there. There's a couple people asking about if we're sending this out. Once again, this was recorded, so I will be modifying it, putting it down and putting it out on the web, hopefully by end of the week. But if you have any questions, or if you need something, or if you want to look in more into the sales contracts, employment contracts, and investor contracts, supply chain management, manufacturer management, feel free to reach out to us as well. We concentrate on purchasing because it was the most common, I believe. But please, if you want to see any of these other contract processes that we've already had built out for you, go ahead and drop us a line, and we can get on a call one-on-one with you to make sure that we address that as well. Once again, just I'm going to put the contact us slide again up there. Feel free to contact us at any given time, even if you just want to talk. I'm up late, so. And it looks like the questions are just about done coming in. I'm going to shut this webinar down so we can start zipping up this the video. If you are interested in the video, or if you have somebody that is interested, once again, reach out and get them the video and get them the slides or anything else that they need to be the most informed they can be. Once again, thanks for attending and thanks for your time. Have a great day, and if I don't speak to anybody, have a great weekend. If you're in the Northeast, spring's coming, and that's a great thing. So no more snow. Have a great one, guys.